This segment is brought to you by Preszler Law Firm, helping accident victims since 1959.
Everybody up.
Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, May the 6th, 7:45 and 9 degrees, 20 the high later today. Most people are well aware of the dangers of drinking and driving, but what happens if you invite someone to your home and they drink too much? What's your responsibility as the host of the party? Do you have to monitor people's alcohol consumption? And do you have to check people as they leave to make sure they're okay to drive? Mick Sloniowski from Preszler Law is here with all of the answers. Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's start from the beginning. So you have people at your house, you're having a party. Now, do you have to be at the door as they leave to say, like, are you okay?
Well, I don't think the courts have gone so far as to say you have to check everyone on the way out and have a breathalyzer exam for them. But what they have left open is the possibility that you have responsibility for your guests if they leave your house, drive a car, and hit a pedestrian on the way home. But the liability they want to impose is more about what did you know at the time? Did you know they were drunk?
Right.
Did you continue to serve them when you knew they were driving home?
Right.
So they're looking for a little bit more than people got drunk at your house, but they can impose some liability on you if your guests go out there and you knew about it.
Okay, so if there was some sort of evidence that they were staggering around and you just didn't care, other than, like, you know, you're hosting a party and someone seems sort of reasonable and rational and walks out the door, then maybe there's some ambiguity?
Well, that's if you had a suspicion that they were drunk, and it might be that they were slurring or staggering, or other people flagged it for you, and then you'll walk them out to their car and you help buckle them in and say, get out of here, you know, drive safely, then you're increasing the risk to other people. And that's where you could share the liability. And the driver still is ultimately responsible for their own actions. But there's situations where there might not be insurance in place or enough insurance in place, and they want to go after the homeowner. And the courts are very hesitant to impose that duty on people because they don't want to discourage people from getting together and having dinner parties or gathering.
So I suppose there's no difference between having a dinner party and serving alcohol that you have purchased or having more of just a party where people might bring their own alcohol with them. Does that make a difference?
It does to some extent. If you're serving drinks to your guests, you could conceivably know how much they've had to drink. In a bring your own bottle type of environment, people just can drink and you have no idea what they consumed, and you don't necessarily know what they had before they got to your party. You don't know how much they've had to eat that day. So those are all the types of things where you lose control a little bit, and then you're just looking for the signs of intoxication as opposed to knowledge of how much they consumed.
So what if they get hurt in your house? They're staggering around, they fall down your stairs. Is that your fault, your problem?
Well, I guess it depends. Is it the alcohol that made them fall down, or was it because your stairs weren't up to code, or there wasn't a handrail, or the lights were so dark they couldn't see a trip hazard? It sort of transfers more to the usual, what we call the Occupiers Liability Act. What are your responsibilities to people who enter your property? And when you add alcohol into the mix, there can be increased risks, especially if you've got a pool in the backyard and everyone decides to go for a swim, and then you see a lot of really serious and tragic accidents that happen when people have a few too many drinks and then dive into the shallow end.
Right. Oh, good grief. It's like I shudder to even think about that, and partly because I don't have a pool, but I have kids, and you know, there's always that idea that if you go out of town when they're 18, 19, 20, and they might still be under your roof, they have people over, they have a party, they serve alcohol. If I'm like out of the country and my kids have a party, is that my problem?
Well, if you own the house, it could be.
Yeah.
And you might be dragged into a lawsuit just because you're the owner of the property. From an insurance perspective, typically what happens is if your children still live with you, then they're dependent and they're part of the household, and your homeowner's policy or rental policy would likely respond on their behalf, so you'd have that insurance coverage, but it's your house. And if someone falls, again, because the stairs weren't built to code, that's still your responsibility as opposed to more of a alcohol-related injury that they sustained.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much, Mick Sloniowski from Preszler Law. And if you have any personal injury questions for Mick and his team at Preszler, visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/morningshowto. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're watching The Morning Show here on Global.